It wasn't torn. It wasn't soaked. It was almost too clean, like it had been placed there, not dropped, not forgotten. That pink blanket stopped everyone in their tracks. Search crews had combed that stretch of forest for days. Some were RCMP officers. Some were volunteers from nearby towns. Others were family friends, or just strangers who felt compelled to help. They had walked those trails, past that footbridge, swept the entire area near the stream, twice. And yet, suddenly, the blanket appeared, folded at the corner, damp from the forest, air but not waterlogged. No signs of tearing, no blood, no mud. It looked like it had just been gently set down. Someone had gone back in after the searches, after the cameras left, and they left it there. For what? A message? A distraction? Or a mistake? RCMP confirmed the item was collected during a coordinated ground search. The exact spot was just off a hidden path, near a footbridge that had almost been overlooked. The area hadn't been flagged before. No heat signals. No trace. But now this changed everything. The forensic response was immediate. Officers cordoned off the area. A mobile unit was dispatched. The blanket was sealed in an evidence bag and taken straight to the crime lab. They began analyzing fibers, moisture content, soil residue, touch DNA, even microscopic pollen, to try and determine how long the blanket had been there and who had touched it. But the real shock? The blanket matched the description Kaitlyn gave on the second day of the disappearance. Pink fleece, cartoon animal faces, the blanket Lilly refused to sleep without, the one she'd been seen carrying in several of the family's older social media photos. It was hers, or it looked exactly like it. And if it was hers, that meant one of two things. Either the blanket had been carried out there after the kids vanished, or someone placed it there on purpose, hoping it would be found. A volunteer who had been there early on told reporters they had walked that stretch at least 3 times. It wasn't there, she said. No way. I'd swear on my life. And here's what's even more disturbing. The blanket wasn't buried. It wasn't caught on a tree branch like it had been snagged by a fleeing child. It was neatly folded, left in a place where a search team would eventually find it, but not right away. It looked staged. For the RCMP, this changed the scope of the investigation. It meant someone could have returned to the area days later. It also reopened the theory that this wasn't just a case of children wandering off. Someone moved something. Someone came back. Someone wanted it to be found. Or worse, someone panicked. DNA results are still pending. But law enforcement sources confirmed their testing for both of the children's DNA, as well as the mother, Kaitlyn, and her partner, Daniel Martell. If their DNA is on it, sure, it could mean nothing. Lilly slept with it. Kaitlyn washed it. Daniel lived in the trailer with them. But if it only has adult DNA, that raises another level of questions. What if Lilly never had that blanket when she disappeared? What if someone used it to make us believe she did? And here's what truly unsettled investigators. The blanket looked too clean, too well preserved, like it hadn't been out in the elements for days, like someone stored it, preserved it, then brought it out when the heat had died down. So why? Was it guilt, a signal, or a sick game? As the forensic team continued to analyze the fibers, RCMP began cross-referencing GPS data from known persons of interest. They also pulled satellite and drone footage from the day the blanket was found, hoping to catch someone moving near the footbridge. The results of those efforts are still sealed. But according to sources familiar with the investigation, police believe the blanket wasn't placed there by a stranger in the night. They believe whoever left it knew that forest, knew the area, and more importantly, knew exactly how close they could get without being seen. Because children don't just vanish. Blankets don't just appear. And someone always knows something. They searched for days, tirelessly, endlessly, with a desperation that clung to the air like fog. Helicopters hovered over the dense forests of Digby County, their blades chopping through still skies, while search dogs sniffed at moss-covered earth below. RCMP officers moved in coordinated lines, side by side, eyes scanning for even the smallest clue. Volunteers came from towns away, fathers, mothers, students, truckers, sacrificing sleep, work, and peace of mind to help. Each hour that passed felt heavier. Hope started to sag under the weight of reality. No footprints, no toys, no clothing, no sign of Lily, no sign of Jack. Then, on the fourth day, a call crackled over the radio. Something had been found, not far from an old ATV path. Hidden just past a bend on a muddy logging road, a volunteer had spotted a faint splash of color through the thorns. At first glance, it looked like trash, something blown from the highway or discarded by a hiker. But when they got closer, it wasn't. Half buried in leaves, tangled in vines, stained and damp as though the woods were trying to swallow it. It was a small, pink blanket, soft fleece, faded from washes and age. Along the edges, fraying stitches where tiny birds once danced in bright thread. A corner had been chewed, worn through, familiar, personal. It was unmistakably Lily's. The blanket she took everywhere. To school, to the doctor, to bed. A daycare worker later confirmed. She never napped without it. The moment it was found, the area was sealed off. Forensics descended. Officers laid down grids. Cameras rolled. The RCMP flew in another team. It was now officially a scene. But of what? There were no bloodstains, no footprints, no signs of a body dragged or hidden. Just that blanket, too far from the house to have drifted there naturally. Some speculated it was dropped during a panic. Others whispered darker theories, that it had been placed, planted, moved, deliberately. Why there? Why only that? And why now? Cadaver dogs swept the area again. Drones with thermal imaging scanned the treetops and the brush below. But nothing else turned up. The forest went silent again. Except now it felt different. Heavier. That single item, a blanket, shifted the narrative. This wasn't just a missing persons case anymore. This was the first real sign that Lily had left or been taken into those woods. And wherever she went after that moment, she didn't carry her comfort with her. She didn't carry anything. Just herself. And now that, too, is gone. What makes it haunting is what came next. Kaitlyn, the children's mother, told investigators something only a mother would know. Lily never went anywhere without her blanket. It wasn't just a comfort item. It was a piece of her identity. Bright pink, worn down at the edges. Faded cartoon animals, ducks, bunnies, and a tiny bear with a crooked smile stitched into the corner. The kind of blanket that smelled like home, held years of memories, and never left her side, not even for a nap at daycare. It had food stains, crayon marks, a tiny tear near the bottom stitched clumsily with blue thread. Kaitlyn said Lily tried to sew it herself. So when RCMP officers emerged from the woods after hours of combing through thick brush and said they had found something, no one expected it to be this. A small piece of fabric, caught in thorns, clinging to the forest floor as though it had been there for days, or had been placed there, almost intentionally. It was half covered in dirt, damp, tangled in leaves, but unmistakable. Kaitlyn's reaction wasn't what anyone expected. She didn't break down. She didn't scream. She stared, then whispered, "That's hers." Her voice cracked. Her hands shook, but her eyes stayed dry. Investigators bagged the blanket and sent it for forensic testing. No blood, no visible damage, but something about it felt off because Lily adored that blanket. She held it tighter than she held her mother's hand. There were pictures, dozens of them, of Lily with that exact piece of fabric wrapped around her shoulders like a superhero cape. And now it was here, miles from the trailer. Alone, silent. How did it get there? If Lily had wandered off, she would have had it with her. If someone took her, they wouldn't leave behind her most beloved item, unless they wanted someone to find it, unless this was a message, or a mistake. And what about Jack? He had a favorite item too, a plush blue dinosaur named Mr. Roar. But it wasn't found, not even a trace, just a blanket. Theories started flying. Was the blanket planted? Dropped in a panic? Did someone try to make it look like she wandered off? Kaitlyn offered no explanation, and when asked if Lily had taken it with her to bed that night, Kaitlyn hesitated. She said she thought so, but she couldn't remember. That answer didn't sit well with anyone, especially not the officers who believed the answers weren't in the woods at all, but back inside the trailer. Because if that blanket really was Lily's last trace, it means she made it into the woods, or someone took her there, and left only the softest part of her behind. Forensic analysts are conducting an exhaustive breakdown of the pink blanket, searching for DNA, fiber origins, soil composition, and even latent touch patterns. They aren't just hoping for Lily Sullivan's genetic material. They're digging deeper. Sweat oils, dead skin cells, embedded pollen, insect fragments, and environmental residue that could pinpoint when and where the blanket was last handled. Every thread tells a story. The blanket was half buried, yet relatively undisturbed. That alone suggests recent placement. Analysts are comparing the soil found in its folds with samples from the surrounding area. If the dirt doesn't match, or if it contains moisture levels inconsistent with the weather at the time of disappearance, it's a red flag. Someone moved it after Lily and Jack were reported missing. Touch DNA could be even more revealing. Even a trace, just a fingertip drag across the fabric, can identify who handled it last. If Lily's DNA is present, it proves she had contact with it near the time she vanished. But if Daniel Martell's or Kaitlyn's DNA is on the outer layer, recent and fresh, it raises disturbing possibilities, because that means the blanket didn't drift there on its own. It wasn't lost or dropped. It was placed. Strategically. Why? To throw off the timeline? To mimic evidence of a random disappearance? Or to suggest Lily had wandered there, when in fact she hadn't? And here's the chilling part.